Hi everyone, Chris here, and I'm back with some more TechTablets audio. I like to check out quite a few different pairs now and then. I get a lot of brands that do get in touch to send them out to me to review, and these yesterday were sent out to me, they're Enacfire E60s. Now they do sell for a very decent price, under $40 US, and this model here does have AptX support. So the E60s, not only that, they also have an IPX8 rating, and the case does support your Qi wireless standard, which is something we don't normally actually see in this price range. So they have a playtime of up to 8 hours, 48 hours additional from the case right here. And in my time and experience with using these ones here, they're actually very decent sounding, and I offer quite a bit considering how cheap these do sell for. This is what you'll find inside the box here. So we have a Type-C to USB cable. There's a little card here for a 2-year warranty, and of course a user guide. Now this user guide, definitely handy to have a look at. The little instruction manual goes over pairing them, goes over the touch controls as well. So there are volume touch controls with this particular model here. Your typical previous track, skip, pause, all that is straightforward. Capacitive touch controls, and we do have these various different sized ear tips here, silicone ones, and I highly recommend that you test these out and find the one, of course, that gives you the best seal. They come with these two on it, and for me, they didn't actually work that well. I didn't get a good seal, so it didn't sound great. So that's why it's very important, of course, you find the correct tip that works for your ears. Everyone's ears are different. So the size of this case here is quite good. It's reasonably small, and it only weighs 42 to 43 grams, which is great here. Now the plastics used, they aren't of the highest quality. I did notice this compared to some of the other cases of other brands that I'm reviewing here. So we have your typical 4 status LEDs here, each representing 25%. So from this case, you get an additional 5 charges, an additional 48 hours. Now it does have a magnet inside here, so when you close it down, it sits down and doesn't rattle around. And overall, the build quality of it, I would rate, apart from the feeling of the plastic, as good, definitely for the price that these sell for. On the back here, we have a Type-C port. Now, one thing I didn't expect, especially with the price range of this one, is this right here, wireless charging support. So it supports the Qi wireless standard, and if I place these on here, the lights start to then light up, and yes, it is charging. Even though it's such a small case, it's great having this wireless charging support here, which will take about 2 hours to fully charge, which is about the same rate as using the cable, so it's nice to have this. One thing I have noticed with this plastic that they have used on the case is it doesn't pick up scratches as easy as others. Now I've had these for a week, I've been using them for a week, and there's really no sign of any scratches on it, which is great. So they are held in place, the earbuds, with magnets of course, like others, and the poker port connectors for charging right there. Sit in place really nicely, and as mentioned, it's about an hour and a half to fully charge these. Now runtime, they claim up to 8 hours. I'm getting approximately 7, just over 7. It all depends on your volume and genre of music you're listening to. So heavier bass will drain these batteries out a little bit quicker. But overall, as a standard, and AptX using that too, it doesn't seem that bad actually, this battery life. Often you see a little bit less than these. Now, looking at the design of the earbuds, now there is no sharp edges with the plastics. They are clearly labeled left or right, and you can see the pogo port connector there for charging. Now the silicone tip ends on them. Highly recommend this with any brands. Do test out all the other sizes to make sure you're getting a proper seal. If they sound terrible out of the box, which these did for me initially, that's because I didn't have a good seal with the pre-fitted tips on these. So I changed them over for this size, and now to my ears, they sound just so much better to the point where I can actually post a review on them. So capacitive touch controls, a little bit hit and miss. We have a microphone, which is right here. There'll be a microphone sample in this in-depth review. So it's just there, the mic. And tapping these, so it's not a physical click and button, it is 100% capacitive touch like most of the other brands here. And like the others, I also find the touch controls to be about hit and miss. It only works about 90% of the time for me, which is slightly annoying. So now I wasn't expecting these ones to be absolutely amazing for the price they're selling for, but I was pleasantly surprised once I got the good seal, the good tips, that these actually do sound excellent. Again, for what they're selling for, they are really, I believe, pushing above their price tag in terms of sound quality. So the lows are very powerful. You wouldn't expect it from the 6mm driver, but no, it actually does produce some very good bass. There's no clipping, there's no distortion. So out of the box, using depending on your favorite music application here. So this is Power Amp that I use with a flat equalizer. They are definitely leaning towards having the lows tweaked up and the highs a little bit. And a lot of manufacturers do this. A lot of people think that, okay, if it's got decent and good bass, they sound quite good. So I feel to the average person, these are tuned pretty much what people would expect and want out of this price tag. Now, the mids are quite tight. They do sound good. Instruments are clear. Vocals come through quite good as well. And even the highs, often the highs are missed out. They're not so crisp. These ones do sound pretty good. So I would rate overall the sound quality out of this E60s here to be definitely above their price tag and excellent. They do sound very, very good. Now, if you pull down and have a look here at Bluetooth, depending on, of course, your phone, you will see this here, that it's connected up with AptX, and it will let you know on that remaining battery life. So here at 100% at the moment, and it will last, as mentioned, up to about, in my experience, around about 7 hours. They claim 8, and you may actually be able to get that if you just lower the volume, of course. So the audio latency I've noticed here with my K30 Pro Zoom, and probably because it's using the AptX codec as well, that it is excellent. The audio is in time perfectly. With this episode here that I'm watching of Amazon Prime's The Boys and Netflix as well, in time and gaming, there's no noticeable lag, at least using this phone. So here's a sample of the microphones, and I'm a little surprised here that these ones are actually better than the last 3 pairs I have looked at. They're better than the Teltronics with the active noise cancellation. They're also better than the Allkeys that I looked at. So this is, I feel, one area that so many manufacturers overlook. So what about that microphone quality? I think it was actually all right, because if I compare it to my last 3 to 4 earbuds that I've reviewed, we've gone from like muffled, very muffled sounding to okay. And these ones I'd rate above average. It's not like crystal clear audio quality for your calls, but the main thing is you can be heard. So it's above average is my rating there for it, compared to especially those last 4 models I've listened to, which a lot of them actually cost twice the price of this particular set right here. So placing them in my ears, very easy, of course, to do so. You put them in, give them a little bit of a twist, and I find that it fits in there fine. Now, after wearing them for 3 hours, I noticed a bit of pressure build up inside, and that is kind of normal. That's going to happen. And you put them both in. A bit of passive noise isolation comes through as well, so you can't really make out some very minor ambient noises because of the seal. But of course, there is no active noise cancellation with these, which would have been great, but of course, at this price, what they're selling for under 40 US dollars, I wouldn't expect to have that kind of feature there. So touch controls. It does work reasonably well, and so many times, okay, now it's working 100% of the time for me at the moment, but sometimes I just have to do and go and repeat that action because it just didn't register. And I find that with all the capacitive touch controls, they're never 100%. So that's one thing that you have to bear in mind, but at least we do have volume controls. Now, if you wanted to use these in mono mode, meaning just use one of them, you simply put them inside the case and you just pull out one of them and leave one in there, and that is your mono mode for you. It's going to work that way. It'll pair up just fine. It doesn't need the other one. It can pair up to your phone with just one at a time if need be. So the sound quality from this, when I first got them, I didn't have a good seal with the silicone tip that was on it that you get out of the box. And once I put a better silicone tip on for my ears, got that good seal, really opened up the sound quality. The bass just sounded so much better, especially the mids. The mids, when I first had the first ear tips on them, the mids to me just sounded flat, like very low down, as if someone grabbed the equalizer and went with all the mids and just pulled everything down. But now, listening to them, very, very good for the price. Just, I would say, above. They're really hitting above their price category here in terms of sound quality. And unexpected, say 6mm driver, you can never assume to say that, oh, 6mm, you're never going to get deep, good bass out of a 6mm driver. But here's another case, and I've got so many others that I've tested out in the channel, that you can actually get very decent bass. It's clear, it doesn't distort, it's not affecting the mids. The mids are quite centered, they're great. Vocals also sound good. Highs come through quite good. I mean, they're not over the top, it's not breaking up the highs or anything like that. Overall, we're getting a nice clean sound. We're getting something that's deep, nice, warm tone, and out of the box tune from these. I think most people are going to be very happy with, but of course you use an equalizer to get it to your personal preference. So range of these ones, Bluetooth 5 range seems standard. I wouldn't rate it as any better or any worse than others I've tested out. It seems to start breaking up on me halfway down the other side of the house, down the stairs, and that's about the norm here. So if I leave my phone here, go downstairs, it starts to break up, that is fine. And now, are they going to fall out? They don't give me that sensation that I get with some of the TWS sets that I've reviewed in the channel where I have to keep pushing them in now and then. I don't have to do that at all with these, which is good. But if you're going to be doing very active sports, like you're going to be jumping around, you're going to be running, boxing, cross-training, you might want a set that has the rubber around the outside here, and some of them have what's called the wings, which help push them and really hold them into place. You might want that. So for standard kind of use, you're going to be walking, going on public transport, whatever, these are going to be fine. So these, the E60s here from Enacfire, actually very good for the price, and really no massive complaints at all with anything. The AptX support, that latency is very good with my phone. They really do offer great sound and a lot with that wireless charging as well, support for their price.